I'm Zachary Cartwright. This is Water in Food.
Folks look at moisture as money, and it is. I mean, if you over dry, it's money, but you also don't want to under dry because then you start getting into concerns around food safety. There's a rhyme and a reason behind everything, and water activity really has helped us troubleshoot and dial in all of our other analytics. We really try to get exactly what the customer wants. This whole thing started kind of as a moisture project, and then it rolled into water activity, and now there's a lot of area of opportunity around incoming ingredients. Just knowing what we have back there.
Water has been called the luck of the planet by Daniel Boorstin, and its impact and significance are evident everywhere in the foods that we eat. Every year, billions of dollars are spent by food manufacturers to move water in and out of food products. As a food scientist, I am on a mission to understand how this can be done better. Today I'm joined by Rick Stoller of Simmons Foods, one of North America's largest producers of poultry, pet, and animal nutrition products. Family owned since 1949 and based in Arkansas, Simmons employs over 7,000 team members. Rick's primary focus is process improvement in dry-end treats. Let's listen to his thoughts on water in food. So thank you for joining us, Rick.
You bet, you bet. So first of all, thanks for having me on. And this is Rick Stoller. I work at Simmons Pet Food. Work in dry end treats, and on this segment, obviously, we will be focused on dry pet food. So yeah, my background a little bit is I've been around extrusion, really been around water activity and moisture, but didn't really know I was there for the first several years. But I've been around extrusion and dry pet food for
Mm-hmm.
over 20 years, I guess.
Oh, wow. And how did you get into extrusion and pet food?
Um, a lot by chance. I actually am. I'm a welder by trade, so I went to Votech up in Kansas to be a welder and started welding on extruders, which
Mm-hmm.
make your pet food, and really right place at the right time. Um, After working on extruders and building extruders, I guess not working on them, but building extruders for a while, I got an opportunity to get up into the service department at one of the major extruder manufacturers. And things just kind of rolled from there. I worked on extruders and traveled around, started them up, worked uh, service uh, service on extruders and extruding equipment for a little over 10 years, I guess, traveling until I got my next opportunity, and then got really into the process side of it as full time rather than the equipment side of it.
Yeah, I had a little bit of exposure to extrusion in grad school and realized it's almost an art form. There's a lot involved. And what parts of the extrusion process stood out to you? What did you enjoy about working on those extruders?
Really interacting with the operators and the people that work in that field. Operators is just one part of it, but uh, initially that's who I worked with the most was the operators. And you're right, it's almost an art to get that kibble perfect. You
Hmm.
can't replicate it every day. You can put guidelines and everything down, but uh, really until you actually get behind the wheel, it's like the road changes every day.
Hmm. Sure. And now you're a process improvement manager. Is that correct?
That is, yep.
And what do you do in that role?
Uh, Pretty much a little of everything, master of none, but a jack of all trades. So, uh, really, the great thing, I get to work with everybody. I mentioned the extruder operator. Obviously, that's kind of my background and whatnot is working with them. But I also get to work with customers and vendors, and really, pretty much anybody in the company. I'm able to pick up a phone and call or work directly with, whether it's sales or marketing or even procurement or quality and production, or even outside of our business. So we've got our dry pet food plant where I'm sitting right now, or it may even roll over into poultry or animal nutrition or our other legs in pet food, wet,
Mhm.
dry treats.
Yeah, that's great. My role here at Meter is very similar. I get to work with lots of different groups and lots of different people, and that's kind of what makes it fun and keeps me going is being able to make all those different connections. What are your goals in your role? What are you trying to accomplish?
So really, there's two main goals with my role. One, it is as it sounds, process improvement. It's uh, take that hand that you're dealt and improve upon it. It may be a great hand. Ours is ours. When I came in, we had great things going for us, and we've only improved upon them. Uh, so every process can be improved, and then also look at new processes and make sure that we do the right thing first. It's always about uh, you don't want to process improve something a new process. Let's do it right the first time. So really working on both those two goals really kind of encompasses everything I do.
Great. And how does water activity and moisture play a part in your role?
To take a little bit of a step back, water activity is from what I saw on the equipment side of it, really wasn't a focus
Hmm.
uh, in extrusion unless you were running some soft moist or something that was pliable. So I never really I was pretty green to water activity until I came over to the processing side. Has always been a focus point. Um,
Hmm.
Along with building and working on extruders, I also worked on and built dryers and coolers and coaters. But obviously, the dryers is really where you hone in on that water activity and moisture,
Hmm.
and try to get as consistent and as close to your target moisture as possible. Um, and really, if the formulations are done right, the water activity will fall in line as long as everything is working properly. So, moisture is kind of I have more of a background on moisture, I guess.
Hmm. So it sounds like moisture was a larger focus in the past. And why is moisture so important to dry pet food?
Moisture is important. I mean, for palatability,
Hmm.
for analytics and everything. But from a higher level, a lot of customers and folks look at moisture as money, and it is. I mean, if you over dry, it's money. Um,
Hmm.
so you don't want to over dry, but you also don't want to under dry because then you start getting into concerns around food safety,
Hmm.
which is where water activity kind of comes into play.
So it sounds like you have kind of slowly progressed from moisture to water activity. What is the general understanding of water activity in your industry? Is this something that most pet food companies are monitoring for, or is this something that is specific to your company?
I think there's beginning to be a natural progression of
Hmm.
companies going that way. I don't know if we were on the. I think we're on the front end, absolutely, because we were testing water activity before I got here. We were testing water activity, and it was a critical hard hold. Basically, we would scrap product if we didn't hit water activity, but we didn't truly understand that. But as far as the industry goes, I think a lot of the larger companies have always looked at water activity and better understood water activity. And I think we're definitely in that ballpark and maybe even beyond that ballpark uh, with the understanding and education that we've really brought on these last several years. So before we had the right things in place, we may not have truly understood why. Now that we understand why, uh, our Simmons, we're able to utilize water activity for a lot more things as much
Right.
as we did moisture.
Yeah, and moisture's always been such a focus because it's so related to profit and yield. But it sounds like you're using water activity for things like safety and quality. Are you also using it for process control?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, we always had it in place, but we didn't understand it, so we weren't really controlling the process other than just controlling the outcome of that kibble. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, I mean, we have in place where if there is one water activity check on a finished good that is over, there's a mass email that goes out, and we figure
Mhm.
out exactly there's a rhyme and a reason behind everything. And water activity really has helped us troubleshoot and dial in all of our other analytics. It's one of the analytics that pinpoint where we may be having a problem or be running out of spec on something. Uh,
Mhm.
it's a very quick indicator uh, to really tie in and troubleshoot.
And where in your process are you measuring water activity? Are you just doing this once at the end, during packaging, or do you use it in process? What steps are you taking?
We check our water activity before we put product into a bag and before we even put it into the finished product bins,
Mhm.
in case we have to divert it or direct it into a different route. It is one hurdle that we have to get over before even sending product downstream to get packed out. It is that critical. But we have really gotten to a point. I don't. I said we've got a mass email that goes out whenever there's a check that's out. I don't remember when the last time I got an email was, which is great.
Yeah, that's
It's
great news.
it's really helped us hone in the other analytics as well. So as we tighten those up, moisture has kind of come into play a lot
Mhm.
more. This whole thing started kind of as a moisture project, and then it rolled into water activity. And now that we're under control, we were under control before, but we're more so under control now that we've been able to tighten our other specs.
Sure.
And then we also have water activity checks at the extruder as well. It is part of our CCP.
And that's a common trend that I've seen with a lot of different companies. In the past, they focus on moisture, and then water activity really allows them to hone in, tighten their variance in production, and often improve or increase, then bring the attention back to moisture content to focus on profit. And a lot of that is unrealized profit that is there to be made, that companies are simply overlooking because their spec isn't as tight or isn't as high, as it could be. So, what kind of steps do you take at your company to educate new people coming in on water activity or moisture content? Is there any type of educational course or anything that you do when new people arrive to discuss these topics?
It really falls in line with most of the other analytics that we have. We do relay all of our lab analytics, and water activity and moisture fall right in line with density, protein, fat, and fiber back to our operators. All that is live time back to them so they can see it and adjust, or at least in that case, water activity,
Mhm.
determine what the problem is.
And what's the rest of this year look like for you? What are your next steps and progressions, maybe goals for processes at Simmons, and how is water activity and moisture included in that process?
So we're never where we need to be, right? We're always trying to
That's
get
true
better.
for everybody, Rick.
I mean, that's part of the part of my name and my title, right? But we've gotten to where we need to be on water activity. We're still not quite where we need to be on moisture, but
Mhm.
we're right there. And the target is really the target. We don't focus on hitting max spec. We focus on hitting our targets. So
Mhm.
we really try to get exactly what the customer wants. So I think driving forward with moisture is part of this year's goal to really get right at that target. And then there's a lot of other opportunities out there with water activity. We're doing some testing as we speak with some of your systems at our treats facility that we didn't even touch on. There's I think it's going to be a pretty busy, action-packed year.
That's good, as if it hasn't been already.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're looking for new opportunities to really tighten that spec. Does this include new things with extrusion or maybe incoming ingredients? Where are you looking for places that you can hit that spec even closer?
So there's a lot. I'm glad you brought up the incoming ingredients. There's a lot of area of opportunity around incoming ingredients
Hmm.
and really tightening. are just knowing what we have back there. We do checks on them, but they're all pretty manual. So there's always opportunity around automation,
Mhm.
and that goes with water activity as well as everything else. Really, we've taken some huge steps forward. I think it's a natural progression to get back to our ingredients and better tighten that down.
Mhm.
Um, I think there's some areas along the line as well, like going into extrusion, and knowing what what that mix is, what that mash is coming into extrusion, what the water activity is there, to really optimize what our target moisture should be. We know what it should be, but that's a very, very high level, just general. A lot of ours are at 8.5. Should it be 8.6 today and 8.4 tomorrow? Who knows? I think there's a lot of area of opportunity at the dry plant and beyond, really.
Mhm. And are there any current products that you're excited about, or maybe products that are proving to be challenging, but you're looking forward to figuring out how to hit those specs?
Every product is a little bit unique. That's one thing that was kind of fun during this whole thing, and will be going forward too. Is each recipe has its own isotherm, and if you follow Zach, I know you know what isotherms are. If not, it's really kind of the correlation between water activity and moisture.
Mhm.
Um, every single recipe has a different isotherm, so we do have some products where we could hit moistures of way over our max spec, and still be within water activity, food safe, uh, very high, super high quality kibble. We don't, obviously. Where there's others where, uh, one of them comes to mind that we have to be right about at our target. And if we ever go over the max just by a tenth of a percent, we start having water activity concerns. So, it's just it, I think our formulations are all good, all really good.
Mhm.
But there's different curves to every product, so those would probably be the ones that we've erred on the side of caution and over dried more frequently, not truly understanding water activity and moisture and that isotherm.
Mhm.
Um, Coming out of our learnings over the last several years, we really understand it now, and we know if we have a high water activity on that formula, there may be a number of items that could throw us that way. Our digest flow is too high. Maybe our bed depth is uneven on our dryer. There's several key indicators that water activity points us towards.
Mhm. And yeah, for a company like yours with so many different formulas, those isotherms are essential for setting your specs and understanding where you should be in terms of water activity and moisture content. Those isotherms provide that complete moisture map, and so they're fundamental. And I'm glad to hear that you are using those and finding them very helpful. Um, One other thing I wanted to ask you, you work with all this pet food. Surely you have some pets at home. Do you have any dogs or cats or
Absolutely.
amphibians?
Yeah, no, we do. We've got a dog, Sally,
Mhm,
at home. She kind of, I say she has the run of the backyard, but every night she comes in and sleeps at the foot of the bed too. So
mhm.
she's a rescue dog that we've got at home, and then we've got six cats. We've got three
Oh,
cats
wow.
and three kittens. So
Oh,
um,
wow.
the kids love the pets for sure. And
Mhm.
and our boy just got a little goat just about 2 weeks ago. So we're starting to build our own little farm, I guess.
Yeah, you're running your own little zoo. I'm on the market for a pet right now. I've been looking for dogs, so any specific breed or what do you suggest that I look for?
Oh man, you look like a pretty high energy guy. You probably better get something that's ready to run several miles or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I've been looking at my family, my mom and my brother both have an Aussie Doodle, so I may be looking into that here in the future. But who knows? Who knows? This has been really helpful. It's given me and the people listening a lot of insight into why water activity and moisture content and isotherms are important to your process. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I don't think. I mean, I just appreciate working with you and your team. It's been a fun ride, a fun journey, and I know we're just starting.
Hmm.
I know we've got a lot going on outside of this dry plant and our other plants as well. Um, and maybe we'll get to a point sometime when, if this one here doesn't flop, we'll have another podcast on a different subject.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thanks again, Rick. We really appreciate you and your time. And I look forward to sharing this podcast with your colleagues and everyone else. So thanks again.
Yep. Thanks, Zach.
I'm Zachary Cartwright. This is Water and Food. Find this podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.